Well, the charades continue. I know. We have video clips just all day today. I mean, I couldn't be more excited for this episode because it just shows you the ridiculousness and the clown show of this administration. So we have Peter Doocy of Fox News. Once again, I know you guys love these segments I do because we highlight, as does Peter Doocy, the hypocrisy and just the craziness, once again, of this administration on not answering questions, dodging it, spinning it, doing everything they can to make themselves look good. I understand her job is hard, but God, she sucks at it. So here you have it. Karine Jean-Pierre sparring with Fox News reporter, the great, the gladiator, Peter Doocy. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Thank you.
I'll come to you after.
Just following up on something the vice president said today, does the president agree with her that the recent Supreme Court decision on abortion access is similar to slavery?
I have not seen her comments. I would like to see her comments for myself
her comment
before.
Was, we know at NAACP that our country has a history of claiming ownership over human bodies. And today, extremist so-called leaders are criminalizing doctors and punishing women from making healthcare decisions for themselves.
Well, she is correct. Today's decisions are criminalizing doctors and essentially taking the rights away from women, taking the freedom away from women.
I'm so tired of this argument coming from the progressive left. There are some Republicans that are doing it too, because it's not just strategically a Democrat progressive left agenda. Abortion enthusiasts are on the right as well. Those rights never existed. People need to fully understand that. And that's what bothers me so much about this White House and its administration. And we'll continue here in a moment, but I definitely want to highlight this aspect because I think it's important. We have a lot of new viewers, a lot of new subscribers on the show. You need to start with Griswold v. Connecticut. I've talked about this at length on the show. Those rights are not in the Constitution. The rights that she's talking about, the rights that pro-choicers are talking about. I used to be pro-choice. I've flipped. Those rights aren't there. The actual Supreme Court justices that voted upon it and enacted it, their own clerks said it doesn't exist. Okay. The Supreme Court justices of the time said it doesn't exist. What they said was, hey, there's a Bill of Rights. This Bill of Rights creates penumbras, shadows, and within those shadows, you'll be able to find other rights. Mind you, these rights that they've created, the Supreme Court did not the legislative branch, the judiciary branch. The Supreme Court found these rights and created them. They're not there. Even though these rights that were never there somehow just appeared magically at the time, eluded legislatures, framers, the founders for 176 plus years, and they just magically found all these rights. And that ultimately formed into the decision and helped form the decision and created a pathway for Roe v. Wade. So now when you have these justices actually look at the Constitution and read it and don't find it anywhere, everybody's pissed because you took my rights away. How can the Supreme Court and the judiciary create your rights in the first place? Furthermore, in Roe v. Wade, created different abortion standards at different trimesters of Roe v. Wade when it was enacted. So now they're acting as a legislature once again. So it was an overreach of the powers. They weren't allowed to do it. And now when you have people coming in that actually know the structure of government, removing it, now everybody gets pissed off that you're taking my rights away, even though they never existed in the damn first place. It's so frustrating because now they're capitalizing on people's ignorance, and I don't like that. I don't like that one bit, and they're going to continue this charade, say, oh, they're hurting women and they're impacting women, yada, yada, yada. If Congress wants it, then implement it. If they don't, then shut up. It's back to the states. If people don't like it, then they need to go to that state in which it's being there for, that they can utilize their abortions and they want to kill babies all they want. I don't agree with it. I used to at one point because of my ignorance, but then once you start doing reading and research and you're going, oh crap, that was a bad decision. Those are bad things people are willing to do. Women should not have a right to kill an innocent child, but this is what they want to push. I know there's a lot of pro-choice people that watch the show. I encourage you to, again, start with Griswold v. Connecticut. Really go through it with a fine comb and just look at how it unravels into Roe v. Wade. It will change your mind.
Really taking away people's privacy. That does matter, and that is important.
Again, now she's going to talk about the right of privacy as well. You have to start with Griswold v. Connecticut to get to the point where she's talking about right now, because they created, before it was a right to privacy in Griswold v. Connecticut, they created what was called a zone of privacy. It wasn't actually called a right to privacy of that time. And I think it was Justice Douglas that created that. And then somehow in the language, it flipped to right of privacy, but they never actually talk about how they get to zone to right. And that right of privacy was through a married couple. And that dives so much deeper than what this show is really meant to be for at this time. We would need an hour-long episode to kind of discuss the two cases on how that zone of privacy went to right to privacy and how that right to privacy could create a whole nother ball game, because that right to privacy within itself could create other penumbras and shadows where you can ultimately have an endless right to privacy, going down to creating drug use in your house or utilizing drug use in your house, to basically doing sex trafficking through certain sectors of property that can't be enacted upon because you have a zone of privacy, a right to privacy. This could go into a whole spider web of things. I don't want to get into it, but let's continue here with Karine Jean-Pierre and the White House saying asinine things.
President agrees.
For me, I appreciate you reading out what she said. I need to actually see exactly what was said and in what complete context. That's what I need to do as a spokesperson for the administration. But I will say that second part of what you just said, the Vice President is actually right. I just at the top, I just laid out what women are going through in this country because of an extreme decision that SCOTUS made. Because of what they did, it is going to upend and change the lives of women across the country. And we have to be mindful about contraception. We have to be mindful about marriage equality, because they have made it really clear. Extreme Republicans, ultra MAGA Republicans have made it clear that that is what they're going after next. So that does.
Again, I've repeated this on almost every show that I can think of. It just shows that they have no idea what the conservatives and Republicans' true agenda is and what we want. And I love how she's talking about, well, now people, she didn't use this language, but this is what she's implying. Well, now people have to take personal responsibility. They actually have to think about their actions, Peter. And we didn't want that before, because we just wanted people to make mistakes all the time and do things maybe they shouldn't be doing. And if they were to do it, then they have to inherit that risk. We don't want them to inherit that risk. We want to kill innocent babies, Peter. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that agenda gets passed. This is so baffling that she's going to say this type of language and act all innocent while saying it. We're talking about murder here. And we're talking about, again, the Democrat Party and the pro-choice movement not wanting to take personal responsibility for their actions. And it's constant. We see that just the segment before, where you had Biden's economic advisor not wanting to take personal responsibility for the negative effects of the Biden administration in terms of oil prices. Remember, before Putin ever invaded Ukraine, there was a 45% increase in oil prices. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about the damage they had done. And by the way, that would have continued in an upward trajectory, a linear positive slope. Even without Ukraine, even without Putin invading Ukraine, we would have still saw a rising inflation with oil and gas because of their climate agenda, because of everything they're trying to do to go against the fossil fuel industry. It's a bunch of hubbub. It's a bunch of hocus pocus, and we can't get lost in all the smoke and all the BS they're trying to throw at us. We got to stay on point here with what they're trying to do with the destruction of this country. Let's continue.
Matter.
And then following up about this comment that the Saudis say did not happen, but the president says did happen. Did you personally hear the president raise the issue of Khashoggi's murder with MBS?
I trust the president. He made those comments, as you heard directly from him during the press conference, and he said at the top of the meeting he mentioned Jamal Khashoggi, and so
you did not hear him say that.
I am just saying to you that the president himself. I was not in the meeting to answer that question, but the president himself said and laid out very.
Oh, I'm sorry, folks. You're probably wondering why I'm laughing. Well, I trust that he said it, Peter. As if he has his crap together. This guy fumbles through his teleprompter. Oh my God, I'm sweating. He has to be chauffeured around the White House, chauffeured around everywhere, doesn't know what he's doing, falls up a flight of stairs, hits a golf ball backwards, gets lost, falls on his bike while standing stationary, and she's just going to believe, well, he said it. I got to believe it. This is the guy that gives speeches, that says things during the speeches, like recounts these stories that never happened. Like, it's astonishing. I mean, I think we're upwards of like 5 or 6 stories that he's continually repeated for like the last 40 years that literally never happened. And well, I said it, Karine. You got to believe me. I said it. It's like, Joe, you're not all there. I'm not going to believe a damn thing you said. I mean, during the campaign, when he's going up against other Democrats during the primaries, they were literally spotlighting the fact of, you just forgot what you said 2 minutes ago. And this is the stuff they're going to show for out. Well, you got to believe him, Peter. He said it. You got to believe him. Nobody heard it. Nobody was there. But Joe Biden was somehow. God.
Very clearly. And just to be clear, that press conference happened because he wanted to make sure that you all heard from him directly. That was the president's decision. He wanted to make sure that he read out what occurred in the bilateral meeting with the Saudi Arabia government.
But so ultimately, we get back from this trip. There's no new peace talks in the Middle East. There's no new commitment to increase oil production in the Gulf. So what was the point of this trip?
I said it before. I swear, I love Peter Doocy. Fox News is not paying this man enough. I know there's a lot of new viewers on the show, which is why I say I've been saying this all along. When she first laid out kind of what they were doing in the Middle East, I was like, nothing's going to happen. It's just another one of those things that presidents do all the time. Now, if this was something that was outside of the realm of just the typical agenda that every president does, I would maybe have a little bit of hope of like, hey, this is cool. You're creating a meeting outside the general. That's awesome. You're trying to push for something. He came out with basically nothing. If anything, he wants to try and push forward other negative agendas, i.e. the Iran nuclear deal. And that happened yesterday as well, where they trotted out, I forget his name, another Biden advisor saying, oh, this is a good deal. This is something we want to do. It's not a good deal. To put in perspective, we gave them $150 billion of assets during the Iran nuclear deal under the Obama administration. That was sent to Iran, right? If Iran were to make the same deal with us, that would be them giving us $8 trillion. That's how ugly this was. Furthermore, they were given a 24-day at least grace period before anybody was allowed to come in and look at their facilities and see if they're actually producing uranium. They're actually on the pathway of creating a nuclear warhead. Furthermore, those that were to go in after that 24-day period, the at least 24 days, it could be longer, were the Iranians' own people. So it wasn't like we would be going in, checking under the hood. It's like the Iranian people are checking under their own hood to see what kind of damages there are. Fat freaking nuclear warhead sitting there. I don't see nothing. Nothing's here. We're good. You know, it's just unbelievable. The crap that we're dealing with from these Democrat politicians. Like, what the hell? So Peter Doocy's right in saying, look, you didn't do anything. You just went on a trip. The president probably took some naps, fist bumped some people, and he moved on. He didn't get anything out of it, which is what we all expected.
Read out earlier, Peter, of all of the things that had occurred, some of the do-outs or some of the things that we were able to get done during this trip. Look, let's step back.
Getting things done and just doing things doesn't always come in a result of achievements. Yeah, you can go do something. Hell, you can go play a soccer game and lose it. You didn't get anything done. You didn't win. You just went and played a soccer game. Joe Biden went there, took a few naps, did a couple fist bumps, fumbled through his words, and that was it. So he did things. Yeah, that's great. You went there, you did it, you showed face. Hell, we got you at least back safely. We didn't know if you would survive the trip. That comes from his own White House aides, where literally they were saying that they didn't want him to go on the trip because it was going to be too taxing for him. It's something that every president has done. They're like, we don't know if the guy's going to make it. In the same way they're talking about this guy tripping over wires and cords, potentially breaking a hip and dying that way. I don't want Joe Biden to die. Okay, he's our president. I know some of you might be saying, well, he's not my president. Look, he's the president. Let's be honest here. Okay, he's the president. Regardless of whether you want him in office, he's the president. But, you know, for her to show for out all these things like, well, we gave you the do-outs and we told you what he did. He still didn't get anything done. He just went there and wasted more taxpayer dollars when he could have just done all this over Zoom.
For a second and talk about what the president was trying to do on this trip.
Oh, what he was trying to do.
This region, the Middle East, it's a critical
tried but didn't
region. The president, his intent was to make sure that there was not a vacuum in the region, so that you didn't have China and Russia stepping in, trying to fill that vacuum. And so it's important for the United States to make sure that we're having those conversations, direct leader to leader conversations, and that we talk about our national security, we talk about food security, we talk about climate change. All are issues that are important to the American family. And so as it relates to the oil production, I talked about, and Jared talked about what OPEC Plus did early in June. We are confident that we will be able to measure how the success of those conversations that the president had in the next several weeks.
Why not insist on a commitment, though? He gets back with no commitment, and the price of oil per barrel shot up. Is that what the president wanted, to go there and have the
Peter.
More expensive?
But again, we have seen gas prices go down in the past 34 straight days.
Aren't they still $2 a gallon higher than when you guys took office, though?
Dude, Peter is a freaking savage. Why are they still like $2 higher than when you took office? I love it, man. I love it. The thing is, it's so different than Jim Acosta, right? Jim Acosta just said a bunch of crap that never made any sense. Whereas like Peter Doocy's using real facts here, and she just is looking at him and just rolling her eyes because she knows it's the truth, and she has to find some way to spin out of it because it's negative news. But remember, according to Biden's economic advisor, we need to focus on the now, Peter. Okay, we need to focus on the 50-cent decrease. It's really making a difference for everybody. Okay, 50 cents. Yeah, it's making a freaking massive deal. It's cool. You save $3. Awesome. While a thing of eggs, a dozen eggs is like $8. You know, you look at a burrito or taco at Taco Bell, that's like $20. Yeah, you know, you're really making a dent in my pocketbook here.
First of all, we have to look at the impact of how we got there, right?
Oh.
You think about the war that Russia has taken on in Ukraine.
I know I keep pausing it, but you guys have to see just the hypocrisy here that I'm looking at, and so is Peter Doocy. He just got done stating there was a whole $2 plus increase of gas prices before Putin ever invaded Ukraine. And she go, well, Peter, we need to take a step back here. We need to look at this and kind of evaluate it. So let's start at Putin's time. We're not going to talk about the 45% increase that happened before Putin ever invaded Ukraine. That's still consumed within that price increase after Putin invaded Ukraine. We're not going to talk about any of that. We're just going to talk at a specific history and moment in time that caters to our narrative. I see how it works.
An unmitigated war, and a war that is brutal and that has had an effect on the price gases going up, almost $2. We have talked about that endlessly. And also, we are also in a once-in-a-generation pandemic. So there are outside factors that has led to gas prices going up, to food prices going up, to inflation going up. So that is really important. What we have seen in the last 34 days is that gas prices have gone down on average by 50 cents a gallon. That matters. That matters to teachers. That matters to firefighters. That matters to nurses. That matters to everyday people. And the president is going to continue to do the work to make sure the prices go down. I'm going to continue, Peter. Thank you.
Of course, she's going to continue with somebody else because she's freaking getting shellacked there by Peter. And I love how she highlights teachers. Folks, I'm a teacher myself. I just got done. It's 50 cents. Ain't really doing much. Okay. Am I glad that there is a 50-cent decrease? Sure. I'm not really seeing it at the pump. I'm not really feeling it at the end of the day. $3 here, $4 there is not going to save me in terms of paying rent, buying more food, or anything of the sort. If anything, you just cut back your driving, which is what I've had to do regarding the Biden administration on their mishandling of this economy, their mishandling of inflation, their mishandling of oil, their mishandling of everything that's happening. But this is the stuff they trot out, folks, on a weekly basis. $180,000 there. Are you happy that $180,000 plus dollars? I don't believe that 180 actually includes the benefits she's getting, and I think she gets a pension too. I could be wrong on that, but this is stuff they're going to trot out from the Biden administration. She's one of the best, folks. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Bald Brad Show. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all our future content.